Hey guys, what's going on? This is Pants Art Dragon, and today we'll be doing a little champion review on JHIN and how I feel about him. And this will be a new series for you guys, as we'll just be speculating champions who are on the PBE and then how I feel they're going to be when they're released live. And we're going to be using the first iteration of JHIN, so that's going to be what he was like when he was released in the PBE. So that'll be all the stats you see on the screen right now. And also by the end of this video, we'll have little scores for JHIN on how OP I feel about him, what I think his win rate will be when he's released on live servers, and his funness level as a bonus for you guys. We'll also be bringing out the pros and cons of his kit, so yeah, it's a champion review, champion analysis kind of thing. Anyways, with all that being said, let's get started. Alright, so there's going to be a lot of things I think are strong about JHIN. And one of those things is that he has superb wave clear. So let's see, he's got his Q, does about 300 to 500 damage. Then he's got his W, it goes through minions and it stops the first champion. Then he's got his E if needed, and his last resort for wave clearing would be his R. So basically all of his skills actually have wave clear in it, which means he's really good at defending towers, and he's also pretty good at poking the enemy, as most of his spells can be casted from a long range. Now, although he does have a fixed attack speed, and he's not like other champions with pretty high attack speed, having a low attack speed but hitting hard with them is actually really good for an AD carry, because in between those auto attacks, you can cast spells, you can auto space, and just do other things while you're waiting for your next auto attack. So as long as he's doing something while waiting for his next auto attack, his efficiency as a champion is going to be very good. So the attack speed thing, not too big of a deal. The next thing on the list is that he offers great support from a long range. Okay, so let's say your teammate is in a fight with someone. JHIN starts roaming down, and then he has a mark on an enemy. So all he has to do is press W, and he can root the enemy. The root is 1.75 seconds, so in that time, he's probably gonna die. If he's not dead, well then JHIN can use his ultimate and start sniping the guy, along with slowing them, so his teammates can catch up and, finish him off. So JHIN is definitely a champion who offers a lot of map presence. The next thing on the list is his traps are basically like TEEMOS. Of course, the only problem is his traps can be walked out of, but if you press your W, you can root them, and the damage actually is as much as, well, TEEMOS mushrooms. And if the enemy is a squishy who walked on that, you can probably finish him off with like 2 or 3 shots from your ultimate, since the E has an incredible AD ratio. And it is pretty good feeling for you if enemy tanks or whoever is trying to get on you. So if you're trying to siege a tower, lay them down defensively, and it's going to be pretty hard for the enemy to get to you. So having a mini TEEMOS ultimate on one of his basic abilities is actually, pretty good in my opinion. And next up, his AD ratios are huge. His full combo minimum is 3.75. And having attack speed and critical strikes to multiply his AD and getting like 700 to 1000 AD, late game, that's pretty OP. And it's not bonus AD, it's actually total AD. So it's pretty strong in that sense. Of course, the base damage of his skills are somewhat low, so he does rely somewhat on items to get some damage. But the thing is, he doesn't really need items to be useful. His kit offers a lot of CC. We get a 1.75 second root, a 2 second slow, plus a 3 second slow coming from our ultimate if he hit all 4 shots. So you're still going to be useful even if you're behind. And I did say you need items to deal damage, but you don't need items to deal your crowd control. Next up is going to be his insane movement speed steroid. So around having like full build and 100% crit, my passive was actually giving me 57% more movement speed every time I crit. So if I have like 100% crit, I'm always going to be walking around teamfights with like plus 57 movement speed. So you're extremely hard to catch if the enemy isn't an assassin. And yeah, you got great peel with your passive plus your E. So as long as they aren't someone like Talon, then you can probably kite around the teamfights easily. Next up, your AD can go over 700 plus. Okay, so even though your crits do reduce damage, it still does a pretty good amount of damage. Like say you're trying to siege onto the enemy and you have rapid fire cannon and you're extremely fed. If you see a squishy and you auto attack him once, it's possible you might actually one-shot him, with just an auto attack and nothing else. So yeah, he can be really deadly if he's super fed, and it just says how powerful he can be in that late game. And that's all the points I can say that are great about JHIN, and now it's time to rate his early game, mid game, and late game. So his early game, I actually rated a 6.0 out of 10. His laning phase is nothing too special. In fact, I feel like it's a bit weaker than most, because his Q doesn't have too much base damage, although it does have a relatively low cost on mana. It's pretty weak until you get some attack damage. And your steroids aren't really kicking in right now since you don't have attack speed or critical strike, so you're a basic AD carry. And also your W's root is only 0.75 seconds for the majority of the laning phase, and he also doesn't have an escape, so ganking him can be pretty easy. but its 4th shot definitely can have some presence against enemy laners, as it does always guarantee a critical strike. Luckily, he's pretty good for ganks as he does has his E and W to follow up with, and if needed, he can finish them off with his R. But it can be hard to finish people off with his R because one person can be blocking the shots of the person who's gonna die, so you might not finish off someone all the time. And yeah, his early game, it's okay. But his mid game, it actually gets an 8.0 out of 10, just because of the semi-global support he can offer with his W and R, like the 1.75 second root with his W, yeah, that's pretty good, or assisting them with his ultimate. And sieging is also decent too, as he does offer a pretty good poke with his Q and W, and he can put traps down for his team to retreat to if needed. So yeah, I do feel like his mid game is pretty strong. Then his late game comes and it gets a 10 out of 10. Okay, so having 700 plus AD is something big, and since you have really good AD ratios, all of your abilities are going to do a lot of damage. Also having, a 57% movement speed every time you crit is, well, that's a big number. And then you have your auto attacks, which can probably 2-shot as squishy. And yeah, JHIN has a lot of steroids to help him in that late game. So yeah, his late game is pretty stupid. Although, JHIN does have some obvious weaknesses. For instance, he has relatively clunky abilities. Sometimes your Q won't bounce to where you want it to go, so it can miss someone you want to hit. His W has a decent delay on it, so you're gonna have to get used to its cast time. His E is easy to walk out of if you step on it. As long as you have boots, you're good to go, or dash. And yeah, although his ultimate is pretty good, then he has no escape skill. He can of course use his W to root people and his E to block people from getting to him, but someone like Lee Sin can easily kill him since he does have like 2 gap closers. And then you gotta get used to the reload mechanic. It can catch you off guard if you do run out of bullets and you don't realize it, and then it can kinda mess up your auto spacing, but once you play JHIN a few times it should be no problem. And then he's gonna need items to deal damage. Although this is kinda like every other AD carry, I feel like it's more important to him because of his insane steroids. And now we're gonna do the final ratings on JHIN. So I feel like his power level is a 9 out of 10, but usually when I do this, they're actually not as OP as I think, so I'm gonna drop it to an 8.0 out of 10. And what does this mean? It means I'm gonna predict a 52% win rate in all ranks, and in Diamond and above, he's gonna have a 54% win rate, just because I feel like he's gonna need some mechanics to play him, as he's somewhat tricky for the lower level players. It's a pretty high number, and I'm probably gonna be wrong, but that's the whole fun part about this video, to see if I'm right or not. And when the champion is released, I'll definitely put the win rate of him in an annotation somewhere around here. Oh, and his fun level is a 9 out of 10. Like, using his ultimate, you feel like an American sniper. You feel awesome when you kill somebody, and especially on the last bullet, because you're like, oh, that guy got fucking wrecked. And of course the reload mechanic is something new, so I do like those kind of things. And yeah, in my opinion, he's a really good design champion. Or I just find him really fun because I do believe he's OP. Anyways, if you did like this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more future videos like this. And thank you guys for watching this video. I am Panzer Dragon, and I'll see you guys next time.